I'll be more than happy to take any questions that you have, any comments, anything that you'd like to ask me about. Yes, sir. You'll have a microphone in just a second.
I have listened with very great interest with what you have to say. And I agree with all of it, except that I'm disappointed that you haven't mentioned the fact, or at least in your speech, how we start off this big change, because I believe that there is something lacking, both in Great Britain, where I come from, and in America and in the other Western countries, that prevents our children from getting the things that you're talking about. And it's not the educational system. I believe it's something to do with the way we bring them up, and I thought that's what you were going to talk about, and the fact that law and order, which is without which no education can flourish, I don't believe, comes into your program or your ideas of carrying the educational system forward.
You know, it's interesting because I did have, and I was limited in time with what I could discuss today, but let me just give you the short version of what I think the beginning of an answer is. We started out having local control of education because that was the only way that we could monitor the educational process. Unfortunately, in America, we still have local control of education. Local control of education means that in school district A, the kids have computers, they have textbooks, they have the ability to bring those textbooks home, that they have support services, they have counselors, and the list goes on. In school district B, they do not have enough textbooks, they are not allowed to take them home, they do not have the wherewithal to do what they need to do in order to educate those children. And in addition to that, the ability to innovate cannot be done on what I call a cellular level. If we look at the human body, we're 60 billion cells, and one does not decide how the rest works. In an educational system where we have 60,000 or 600,000 communities controlling the educational system within their four corners, we cannot change that process. What has to be done is severe and strong incentives by the federal government to create standards not simply of achievement, but standards of support that are actually funded and given to those school districts if they conform and agree to conform to a much more national plan for education. Then we will be able to confront the issue that you suggest. I agree that law and order and the breakdown in law and order is a huge problem. Part of the reason for that breakdown is, in my view, a disconnect between how children see their role in society and how society sees them. Kids are opting out from the process and opting out at a very early age. What intrigued me about the election of President Obama, elect Obama, was the fact that he energized a generation of Americans who had no interest in politics, never voted in politics, never would think of contributing to a candidate. And yet he energized them and they came to his call. He is, I believe, and I'm going to get a little, I suppose, flack for it, but I think he is the first idealist to occupy the White House since Robert Kennedy ran for the presidency unsuccessfully in 1968. And if we look back further than that, I'm not sure who I would compare him to in terms of bringing a sense of idealism to the process of politics. That's what energized a generation, and I hope that that may well turn out to be what will energize this country. Yes, anyone else?
I have the mic.
Yes, sir.
Therefore, I get to speak?
Yes, you can.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. From my own experience, I agree with you. I'm 85. When I retired at 65, I said, I've got to do something. What am I going to do? Play golf? That gets a little tiresome. So one of the public schools in Alexandria, Virginia, said, we'll train you to tutor a group, not just me. And they did. Well, I'd moved to a small town in Tennessee not far from Vanderbilt. Do you know where Vanderbilt is?
I did my law school at Vanderbilt.
Well, there. Now, they have a fine school there, and there's a fine educational system in Tennessee, and I noticed one thing about volunteering there. It works. That's their motto. I volunteered teaching foreign students who came to Tennessee Tech in Cookeville. You know that? Okay. Now you're with me. That was fun. The Indians, the Chinese, boom, they could pick up English just almost overnight. Well, that got a while. Then I taught adult education. That is a rewarding thing. But now I'm doing 3rd and 4th graders. I've done it for 12 years, but I can't get adults to do it, other adults. Yeah. But it is the most rewarding thing to see a young child say, I get it. I get it. But the reason I have to do it is because the teachers are bound by the rules that they have to teach to. And when I come, they say, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Will you take this child? Will you take that child? They're falling behind. They can't keep up. Will you do it? Then last year we tried something different. Will you please take this child and this child? They need to be motivated because they're getting bored with what it is. The schools have got to start understanding their children and the needs of those children. They'll be there, but the system now is not great. It's not great.
And unfortunately, and I agree with you, unfortunately, the relationship between the administration of schools, which is growing exponentially, whose budgets are growing exponentially, the administrators, the guys who sit and look down and say, this is what you're going to do and not do, these are the policies that we're going to employ and not employ, are becoming, as any bureaucracy, totally entrenched in the past, very difficult to motivate into the future, have no vested interest in changing what may ultimately threaten their jobs. And so we have an educational system that is being held back by the very people who are in charge of moving it forward. And that has to change. And I'm sure you being on the front lines know that better than I do.